I'm guessing you've seen the show Succession. Has anybody ever brought this up with you?
Yes. I actually went to one of the premieres of Succession, and I went up to Shiv, and I was like, "You don't know me from Adam, but I am you." And her response was, "Oh, Lord, I hope not."
Charlotte Jones, daughter of Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, manages one of the most ubiquitous brands in the world. And behind it, one of the most powerful family dynamics in all of sports. That's no stranger to the spotlight or to controversy.
I haven't talked to y'all in a long time. I've got some stuff stored up here.
So maybe it's unsurprising that there's probably no other team in the world that gets more attention than the Cowboys.
America's favorite team, you know who that is. They're once again hoping to end the season with a Super Bowl trophy.
Prescott takes off running the football.
And while America's team is always in the conversation, they've only won 4 playoff games in the last 2 decades, breaking more than a few hearts along the way.
It is good. The Packers are moving on.
While the team's play on the field has fallen short of its ultimate goal for some time, its business side has been second to none, to the point where second place is a wide margin away. Valuation estimates have the next closest sports franchise on the planet worth nearly $2 billion less than the Cowboys. A lot of that credit has gone to the equally larger-than-life owner, Jerry Jones. But it's his daughter, Charlotte, who's been the primary brand architect of the Cowboys. And she's quite literally building the next generation of Cowboy business.
He said, "You've got 2 jobs. One is find a way to stop losing money. And the second was whatever you do, don't tarnish the star."
It's the first Saturday in August, and we're here at ATT Stadium. It is blazing hot in Dallas, but the Cowboys faithful are turning out. This is the chief cathedral of football. This set a new standard for everything that came after it in the NFL. I'm so hot. Are you guys lifelong Cowboys fans?
Painfully, yes. Yeah, painfully, yes. That's correct.
And what do you think about sort of the Cowboys as a brand, like in the context of Texas?
They're worth $9.4 billion, so good brand.
Yeah. It's actually estimated at closer to $9 billion, but hey, everything's a little bigger in Texas. As is the size of this mega stadium that was the brainchild of Jerry Jones, which has helped elevate the Cowboys brand to what it is today. Meanwhile, up in Frisco, the Cowboys training complex, envisioned and built by his children, is looking to take the Cowboy business to the next level. We're here overlooking the practice field. Let me throw a business term at you that you're very familiar with, which is uncorrelated. The business has continued to grow. The on-field product is okay.
Yeah.
Competitive, but not championship. How does that diverge, and how do you reconcile that?
You know, for us at the end of every season that doesn't end at the Super Bowl is a failure. There is no doubt that our ultimate goal and judgment of success is a Lombardi trophy. But aside from that, uncorrelated from that, is truly the business aspect of it. People come to our game. They leave their worries behind, all of their challenges behind. They see that struggle and they can identify with the struggle, but they still have the hope. And I think we provide hope. And I think that's what allows our game to be so much more.
I take your point, and yet I would say you, as an organization, have managed to transcend that far more than anybody else. What do you think that is?
I think what is inherent in our genetics is the stomach and the appetite for risk. It's interesting how our own thinking has evolved to this point. Kind of got to rewind the clock back to 1989. I had no idea that my career would be in sport. Had no idea that my dad would buy the Dallas Cowboys and decide, hey, let's go do this crazy idea.
There he is. A lot of pressure on Jerry Jones trying to turn things around.
In the late 1980s, the Cowboys were a struggling franchise and hemorrhaging money. And then business maverick Jerry Jones raised eyeballs and audible gasp from his inner circle when he decided to purchase the Cowboys from H.R. Bum Bright for $140 million in February 1989. At the time, it was the largest deal ever for an NFL team.
No one had ever paid so much for a team, ever. The ethos of the Cowboys being bigger than life was very apparent. So in the 70s, when Cowboys won their first Super Bowl is when the phrase America's team was coined, and Roger Staubach was the quarterback, and he came from the Navy, and all of that gravitas just kept mounting. That when the Cowboys came up for sale, they were losing so much money. They were losing $75,000 a day, over $1 million a month. That was a lot of money. And the team was 3-13, so they were having no success on the field. Stadium was half full. The area here in Dallas, it was in the savings and loan crisis. Buildings were half empty. There was a lot of really dark times in Dallas at that moment.
What did you see as a business person? What were those initial impressions, those initial surprises?
Your first thought is, I still think this is like a really bad idea. The second thought was, I've never seen somebody more passionate about the game, enthusiastic about wanting to make an impact. And if anybody can do it, he'll figure it out.
Jerry Jones would quickly establish himself as something the NFL had never seen. Amid a club of owners generally happy to own teams for civic pride, the Joneses were motivated to make it work as a money-making venture.
There's a fine line between innovating and disruption, because sometimes you got to tear down to build up, right? At the time, when my dad bought the team and he had to immediately fire Coach Landry, which was just a PR disaster on every level, he came in as a strong disruptor. And that moniker stayed with him, is still with him as a disruptor. I left Washington, I came down literally for the weekend and jumped in the middle of all that. And while I was here, he asked me to stay. And my first response was, I don't know anything about running a professional football team. And he said, that's okay, neither do I. But I just need somebody that will lay awake at night trying to solve these problems so that we can move ahead. What we soon realized is the only true value with the team was the tradition that had been established. That was what was valuable. And when I got here, my dad literally told me, you've got 2 jobs. And those were my 2 directives. Find a way to stop losing money. Don't tarnish the star. And that began the journey.
Jerry Jones, even at the age of 80, still lives with his football team, especially at training camp. In many ways, he's still the master of ceremonies here, talking to players and coaches and giving interviews, but most importantly, watching his team as they prepare for the new season. So if you want to talk to him about his own daughter, you might just need to have his PR team walk a phone out onto the field, up the stairs to the tower, practice noise and all.
Let me just say this, standing here at training camp, team in behind me, reminds me of her initial noteworthy contributions. We had no plan when we opened our first training camp, but I knew that I wanted to save money on the expenses of running the training camp. And so I said, Charlotte, you go take training camp and reduce the expenses as well as add revenue to offset expenses. Little did I know that this was the initial foray into the using the affinity of the Cowboys called sponsorships. And so I really give Charlotte credit for making camp more viable financially, as well as really exciting, because there were not big crowds involved, not just with the Cowboys camps, but all over the league.
That's awesome. You never know what he's about to say.
The Cowboys' new wave has arrived. Those wearing the Lone Star helmets.
I'll never forget the first dry cleaning that I went to because, do you know how much money you pay to clean? And literally walked in and was like, can we do a barter deal where we don't have to pay for you to clean our stuff and we'll put up a sign at camp? And it was kind of barter after barter that we started just checking the box on saving. And it really wasn't about making money. It was like, oh my gosh, we just have to stop the bleeding. And how do we do it? All of this became ideas that we actually could monetize and then start to bring in partners associated with it. Who would have dreamed that 3 years later, we would go on to win the next 3 out of 4 Super Bowls, and then shortly thereafter that become the most recognizable and valuable brand in sport. But our intention was also to propel the game and grow the game and innovate around it, because we really did see it was so much more than just a game. And how did we tap into that? And how did we become more of a culture instead of a sport?
The Cowboys are back on top of the mountain.
Jones's early days of trial and error to answer that question soon became their playbook for future success. Fast forward, and they've done it over and over again, to the tune of $9 billion. And now they've built a living monument of sorts to that business prowess. The Cowboys team facility, The Star, opened in 2016 and would end up costing even more to build than their famed record-setting AT&T Stadium. It is effectively its own ecosystem, driven by the heart and soul of Cowboy culture, all built upon the logo we all either know and love or love to hate. This isn't just a top-of-the-line team facility, but maybe a prototype for the future of sports franchises. And to understand how it both reflects and impacts the business of the Lone Star State, I caught up with my colleague, Julie Fine.
You know, your job as the Texas Bureau Chief is to be the expert on all things Texas and business and economics and politics for Bloomberg. No small job. How do sports and how do the Cowboys specifically fit into that fabric in your estimation?
Well, the Cowboys are a business. Texas is known for big business. And if you look at what the Cowboys have done, they've really combined it all. And look at the background you have. You have the state of Texas, which you have the financial migration down south, and you have this business culture here. It works. We just saw on the field, the indoor field here, where high school footballs also play, an event that covered the entire field. And now you look around here, there are restaurants, there are stores. This is a destination. It is a tourist attraction.
That's because business is quite literally built into the Star. The facility offers about 400,000 square feet of office space, with the Cowboys using just a quarter of it. The rest is leasable by third parties. They also built a regional headquarters for beverage giant and longtime sponsor Keurig Dr. Pepper. That building overlooks the Cowboys practice field. And in 2021, the Cowboys began construction on an even larger high-rise office building, boasting 350,000 square feet of rentable space to multiple businesses. They've already leased 93% of that space and are exploring building another high-rise.
Charlotte had a lot of projects with the Cowboys, but this was one that had so much risk with it. And Jerry Jones is obviously known for willing to take risks. But she had to prove that she could get this one done.
Obviously, people come here for a lot of reasons, but they certainly want to check out the Super Bowl trophies,
Right.
and they want to check out the rings. We charge for tours here,
Yeah.
but there are other people that come and just come to work and come to meetings, and we wanted this open
Right.
for them to be able to see it and experience it. One of the things that we kind of took from training camp is we brought a lot of corporate partners out to camp to entertain them there. So we thought, why not do the same thing on a daily basis for our practices? And so we have both of these suites set up that actually do that. So that allows people to come, bring a leadership team or clients or whatever, watch practice, and then have a meeting, and then either hear from a member of our team, to kind of pump them up or jazz them up about the Cowboys, and have a really interesting way to have a meeting.
In a post-pandemic world where brick and mortar offices have trouble luring workers back to the office, the Star, it's a pretty nice attraction. Here, you can walk past Lombardi trophies on your way into the daily grind. Maybe even have that chance encounter with a player or a coach. There's even a luxury residential high-rise called the 12, allowing you to live and work surrounded by Cowboys culture. Adam Newman, eat your heart out. Seeing it in person and seeing those office buildings filled to capacity, it might be hard to say this was ever a real risk. But early on in the process, the idea was not loved by every member of the Jones family.
When we began this project, there were 3 of us that were super excited about this, which was my brothers and I, and there was one person that was very hesitant, and that was Dad.
That's such an interesting insight because I feel like the world sees your dad as like, go big, spend money, go. And the fact that he needed to be convinced is a really interesting family dynamic or business dynamic.
Well, I think he had, as he said, I had danced with the devil twice and I was not going to do it again. And, you know, when he bought the team, I think he was so fortunate that we were able to come out of that and be successful there, that when this idea came around, he was like, y'all have to figure out how to do it. I'm not giving you any money. So when we jumped in here, what started as, okay, we're going to put some offices, and then to monetize it and pay for it, like, let's put more offices on top of it. Let's sell them. People will want the view of the practice.
Right.
But that, again, speaks to the willingness to open up what most people privatize.
Right.
You know, honestly, most of the strategic thinking and the game strategy is probably 20% of practice.
Yeah.
And for that, we go inside the Ford Center.
Right.
We still keep the secrets.
The Ford Center is the large indoor practice field at the heart of the complex. Here again, the Cowboys aren't just using this for practice. When we visited, we saw it used as a venue for a massive convention. Maybe more importantly, it's a longer-term investment in the future of the sport of football. The Ford Center seats 12,000 people, providing a massive venue for high school football games there in Frisco. And not for nothing, but one QB who plays here is John Stephen Jones, Charlotte's nephew.
For us, it was, okay, the next generation. How do we connect, you know, with young people and young kids? Well, you connect right at the heartland of the game with high school football. High school football are the greatest moments of every pro athlete's life. That's when they are the superstar of everything, and everything was great, and that's where their love of the game took off. So you start there. How do you become an evergreen thought in people's minds rather than just your 17 games a year? How would we create something where people could come, have a touch point with us every day of the year and feel like they're a part of something bigger? This project was the first time I got fired. So I knew he was engaged when he said, well, let me see the plans for the Ford Center. And so I showed him the plans, and you know, the budget was tighter, so there was a metal facing and everything. He's like, you're not putting metal on the outside of this building, are you? So, well, you know, glass is another $10 million. Right. And he said, do I have to find someone else to build this building? Are you seriously not gonna put glass on this building? Now remember, he's just told me you don't have any money.
Right.
Now I'm about to get fired because I won't spend enough money. And the architect's like, Charlotte, we got fired. About that time, Jason Garrett comes out of his trailer and he looks at me and goes, you look like you've just seen a ghost. I'm like, well, it didn't go so well and I think I got fired. He goes, that's okay, I got a job for you over here in coaching.
Spoiler, Charlotte didn't get fired. And as her beloved star continues to expand and prove its worth, the main event is still over in Arlington. It's what some call Jerry World, others the Death Star, the Palace in Dallas, or Cowboys Cathedral. It's where the Dallas Cowboys play on any given Sunday, and it, too, is a highly coveted brand integration, AT&T Stadium.
So here we are. We're right about 45 minutes before kickoff. We have a lot of different partnerships and business associations, as you can imagine. And so to be able to bring them down here with their select clients or guests or family and take a picture with Jerry, be close, you know, to the action, really doesn't happen the way that we do it in any place else. This is so great to see y'all out here. Thank you. You want to go in the second half? You want to play? Yes. We kind of don't mind mingling, you know, some of people with the players, but you know, everyone's pretty respectful of, you know, a certain amount of distance. So, but we probably push the line a little bit on that.
The Cowboys certainly do bring luxury fandom closer than ever before to the action, but to Charlotte's point, is some of it at risk of going too far?
People are very wise, and they can sense whether their experience is authentic or it's not. And we really work hard to make sure it is as authentic as we can possibly make it.
You gotta get right now for your presentation, yeah?
Sorry.
That's real proof of the business driver that football games have become for the Cowboys, a big part of which is the premium paid for the privilege of stepping foot into Jerry Jones's orbit, if only for a little while. He's a figure who, much like a star player, is surrounded by a mystique very few owners possess.
In the broader world, I think it's fair to say your father is larger than life.
Yes.
In step with Jerry's lasting star power, he's also been no stranger to controversy, going all the way back to the beginning. From firing coach Tom Landry upon his purchase of the team, and then ultimately losing Super Bowl winning coach Jimmy Johnson, to speaking out against players kneeling during the national anthem, and a photo later surfacing of him among a young crowd preventing black students from entering a school in Little Rock in the late 50s.
65 years ago, and I had no idea when I walked up there what we were doing.
In the end, none of it has put a dent in the Jones empire, or slowed the Cowboy brand's stunning economic growth. And maybe it's even helped garner more attention to the franchise.
He is also, at times, controversial. As an executive, you can deal with that in some certain way. He's also your dad. How do you sort of separate that, especially at moments where he's facing a lot of criticism?
You know, I have heard him tell me often is that I think you do your best work in crisis. We came into this in crisis. There's danger in the comfort zone. So probably the best advice my dad has ever given all of us is to have a high tolerance for ambiguity.
You talked about the next generation, and you are a part of a next generation. I'm guessing you've seen the show Succession. Has anybody ever brought this up with you?
Yes. I actually went to one of the premieres of Succession, and I went up to Shiv, and I was like, "You don't know me from Adam, but I am you." And her response was, "Oh, Lord, I hope not."
How do you think about Succession? How do you think about legacy? What are the conversations that you have with your brothers and with your dad about that?
I think we spend more of our time around that, thinking about the next generation as opposed to the three of us, because the three of us have already figured out how we work together.
Do you see, one of your kids sitting at this desk or one of these desks down the line?
I sure hope so. Because, you look around and you're like, what do we do all this for? I obviously want them to pursue what they're passionate about, because there's not a seat here for someone who doesn't have the same kind of intense passion that my father has had or that I have had. It's the passion and the belief that you're doing something significant is what takes you to the next level. And if they have that, then there is an opportunity for them to have that.
Succession plans aside, Charlotte Jones and family have raised the bar time and again as the standard bearers for team ownership that transcends the sport itself. No matter how much things change with the next wave of ownership coming to sports, more likely than not, everyone will be trying to keep up with the Joneses.